Boom! Today on the PMP Success Secrets with Scott podcast, I'm going to help you become a better PMP question solver. And not the easy questions, the hard ones. All right? So your success on hard questions is dependent on process, knowledge, and confidence. Can you bring those to the table? Now, the way I build my students up and the way I'm going to show you right now is that we put them in live fire. We solve hard questions together. We work it out. We follow a process and we refine. So what I want you to do right now, this is the first of 3 little podcasts that we're going to put out on these hard questions. And I want you to watch and listen to how the students solve it, how we refine them down on the process, and how we move them through so that it's repeatable. Now, this is a skill that you can develop. I can help you develop it, but you gotta slow down, listen, and follow the process. So let's get into this. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna solve hard questions together. There's gonna be a leader and a helper on every question. It's to help you out. And so what the leader is going to do is we're going to read through the last line of the sentence, the last line of the question first. You're going to say like, what would the project manager do next? Or what should they have done in the past? Or what are they doing right now? Kind of directs, and we got to align ourselves with where it's having us look. Then nice and easy, go back to the top of the question, work from the top down. We're going to read it to try to understand it, get contextual kind of details about the question. We want to understand what the real problem is, what kind of keywords we're dealing with here. And then at the end of the day, like, what would you do? Like, that's a fair question. Like, what would you do in this situation? And then from that, kind of like pause for a second. And then we want to go through each answer independently, like one by one, boom, boom, boom. When we look at the answers, you know, we just want to say, hey, we look at it and we say, I think it answers, it either solves or it does not solve the problem that we identified above. Super important to put that lens on it. And then we say why. We say because X, Y, Z. Whatever logic you got, if you don't have any, you'd be like, I don't like it and I don't know why I don't like it. And that's a minor problem. All right. And so that's how we're going to do it. Now, Natasha, take it and we will go to Jete to help. So Natasha and Jete.
How should the project manager approach this change? A project single sponsor has been replaced by a steering committee due to a significant increase in project size. Mm-hmm. How should the project manager approach this change? A, tailored communication to, okay, so let's see where we are in the project.
Yeah, there you go. Before we go into the thing, like, tell me a little bit more. Yeah, where do you think you are?
So a single project manager, single sponsor has been replaced by steering committee. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about change. So we're either in monitor and controlling, mm-hmm. executing or monitor and controlling. I would go for M&C. So let's see.
And how would you, like, if I just walked in, I got here late, I'm confused, I didn't literally listen to the question, like, how, just frame it up for me. What's the situation that we're dealing with here? What's the problem?
So for whatever reason, one of the sponsor has been replaced mm-hmm. by a steering committee. Okay. So it says due to the significant increase in the project size, yeah. The committee decided to replace the sponsor, and it's just one sponsor. So the project is increased, and maybe they redirected to a sponsor that has either more experience or, you know.
Is it going to like person A to person B, or is it person A to something different?
It's person A to something different. Okay. I would say
that something different is what?
Maybe a team.
Yeah, steering committee, like a group of people, right? Like a group of people.
Right, a group of people, yeah. Because of this significant size of the project.
All right, so let me just ask you anecdotally about like regular real life. Like if we change from Natasha being the sponsor to the group of y'all being the steering committee, what would need to change from the project perspective? Would it be like, what kind of things would need to change, do you think?
We'll need to change the scope.
The scope of the project?
the project scope statement,
How
where
so?
because it's saying that there is the project is an increase in size. So
Oh, okay. That probably would have been done in the past because right? I like what you're thinking because like we were making a bottle, like a new bottle design or whatever. Now we're making a new, who knows, multiple bottle designs or something like that. And so yes, we probably would have gotten to the point now that we have extended the scope and all those things to change it. So that's a good pickup. And now that that has been done, we've changed all our baselines, all that jazz. What else would need to be done to accommodate for this bigger committee?
The stakeholder the stakeholder management plan.
Okay, cool.
So
Anything else?
possibly the baseline, the cost baseline, the schedule baseline,
Sure. Sure.
all three of the baseline, pretty much.
Sure.
Would change
All right.
because the size of the project has changed. So I would assume that there is more cost associated. You need a bigger team possibly. So all of that has definitely changed.
And how would all this stuff be? How would the steering committee just automatically like be aware of this or what?
They would request a change request. They would put through.
Okay, so if the change request went through, boom, 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 that's all done. Like they get, how would they know about it, or by what mechanisms do we get the information?
Communication management plan updated as well. So,
Okay, cool.
And then execute, I guess, a meeting or some sort of stuff, some sort of report to give like a status update that all these changes have occurred in the project.
Okay, cool. So I think we have a good framing of like, we understand basically what we're dealing with here. Sweet. So let's just take answer A. What do you think about that one, please?
Tailor communication to the new steering committee, recognizing that there has been a change in the stakeholder structure. I like that one.
What do you like about it?
Tailoring the communication to the new steering committee so that they understand the changes in the new stakeholder structure.
Okay.
I like
the tailor. B.
What's that?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
B, follow the initial project plan, recognize the stakeholder group now includes a steering committee members. I don't like that one because the initial project plan has now changed. I would assume because of the size
and what other kind of parts, like if we think about the ginormous stakeholder or the project management plan, like the mother one has a bunch of different components. Obviously, scope, schedule, cost, those plans are going to be modified, or the baselines and all those things. So that's covered. But what other things that you mentioned previously need to be modified and we don't follow the initial ones now?
The stakeholder management plan.
And the
communication management plan.
There you go. So therefore, B is no good. Yep. Gone.
Schedule a low-key introductory meeting with the new steering committee and the team while continuing to follow the initial project plan. So I don't like that one either. Low-key introductory meeting, that's like a kickoff meeting, right? So, and I don't like the part of this question where it says, continue following the initial project plan.
I definitely don't like the backside, the back one part of it. The low key introduction meeting is, that's not like an official term or thing. Like,
right.
It's just like, hey, let's have a relaxed, casual, if you will, like walkthrough of the team. Yeah. And so maybe that's something we do, like, hey, we're going to get you up to speed, but then we're going to continue to communicate in this way. But you're right. Like, doesn't totally fit, like, especially the back end of it. So cool.
All right. D, ensure that the new steering committee members receive the project current status report. I like that one. Ensure that the new steering committee members receive the project current status report. Tailor communication to the new steering committee. Recognize that there has been a change in state. I think I like A as the best answer here.
Okay, what makes A better than D?
I like the tailored communication part, and it's being directed to the new steering committee and
Mhm.
recognizing the change. Uh, D is just saying send the status report basically to the new members,
Mhm.
um, which is good, but I think A is a better answer.
Cool. Okay, cool. And so if A wasn't there, then D would be the best-ish answer. But like, what is lacking about D? What is lacking about D?
Uh, ensure that the new steering committee members receive the project current status report. So a lot is lacking in D.
Okay, just give me one thing.
As far as okay, it doesn't say who the new stakeholders are. It does say the new steering committee members, and that they're just getting a status report instead of recognizing that there's a change, a huge change, because of the size of the project.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, how often do they getting this report?
It doesn't say how often they're getting these reports either.
And what controls how often they get the report?
The communication management plan.
There we go. So it seems to be like a band-aidy kind of answer, like send them the report, and then what happens next week or next month or next year or whatever. It's like, oh, well, we sent them a report once. And so, yeah, okay, cool. So you like A, right? A's your favorite. Sweet. Jete, thoughts?
I agree with A because it addresses that we need to tailor our communications to these new group of stakeholders, the steering committee. I like that. And I agree with Natasha that D doesn't work because we haven't made the communications plan. And so there's a few steps before we send a status report to the new steering committee, and maybe that's not part of the communications plan or how they want to receive their information. We haven't addressed that yet.
Love it. So we want a long-term solution that's aligned toward them. The tailoring handles that. So it's really good. Let's hit the button. Yay, we got it right. So tailor it to there. So a lot of things that you guys did really, really well in there was you took them one by one, you analyzed them, you said because you kind of went through it. At the beginning, we talked it through. We made sure that we understand like, well, what's changing? What would we do? What needs to be done now? Stuff like that. So really, really good. You have a good understanding of all that stuff. So great job, Natasha and Jete. Take it away, Jete, and Jeff is gone, so up comes Eric.
To which sources should the project manager refer? Prior to preparing a monthly project status report, a project manager identifies 3 new risks. All of these risks could impact critical key milestones. The project manager wants to reference additional information before presenting this new risk information. To which sources should the project manager refer? Okay. So prior to preparing the status report, a PM identifies 3 new risks. All of these risks could impact critical key milestones. She wants to reference additional information before presenting this new risk information. Okay, so A says risk register.
Hold on for a second. Like what? So what would you do? Like in order to get the information that you need, don't even look down below. There's a lot of words, all that jazz. What would you need to like be able to create this new report, like this new month's report?
Okay. Prior to preparing monthly project status report, a project manager identifies 3 new risks. So it's new. Wants to reference additional information before presenting the new risk. So identify risk. So we would, if they're new and want to, yeah. If it's, Management wants to reference additional information before presenting this new information. So if you're presenting it, I would think that you would first want to see, like, if we do have these risks, how do we have we, they're new,
Mhm.
but like I know that we have like a risk plan in
Ah,
place.
okay.
So like looking at something like the risk management plan or something like that to see
Okay.
like, okay, what do we do when we come across certain risk?
Okay. That seems reasonable. All right, cool. So let's just go one by one and see if these two sources in A are what we would do to help us create this report or this updated report this month.
I don't think A, risk register and risk report, I don't think yet, because the risk register is where you register risks that occur. These haven't occurred yet. And the risk report is where you report what you did when dealing with these risks. So I don't think it's A yet. I don't
Okay, so hold
think.
on. Let me see. So a risk for the report has to have kind of like happened. Like it has
Yes.
to realized itself, right?
Yes.
Not just been
And like,
potential.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's like reporting that risk
If we know,
that
so on
happened.
the risk register, you're saying, correct? Is that right?
No, the risk report is if it
Okay.
happened.
Okay. Okay. What does the risk register have on it? Register.
I don't remember. So risk register. Let me think. So it's the risk. It's who owns that risk and what you're gonna do if you have that risk. Or what number are they? Like meaning how high is this risk? How low is this risk? Is it a good risk or a bad risk? So risk register like outlines things for that risk.
Love it. So it's like a comprehensive long list of all the risks, and it can be sorted in a bunch of different ways, like you said, probability and impact, like which one's the worst or the best, or all these different things, who owns them, all these details. So it's like zoom, top to bottom, all the risks that we know about that are constantly coming on and off or coming on. All right, so that's the risk register. So so great. And then the risk report. Talk to me about what a risk report is again, please.
Sure. I think the risk report is when you have encountered a risk and you are saying, like, how did you deal with this risk? And who dealt with it? How was it? Was it mitigated? Was it, what are the different responses that you had to that risk in your project?
So that's for individual risks. Is that correct?
That is correct. The risk
Okay.
report.
So um Eric, what do you good job just we'll keep going. Give me pause 1 second. Eric, how do you think about risk report? Like what do you think it is?
I think it's a basic status report of where we are in relation to the risk register.
Okay, talk me through a little bit more what kind of stuff would be on it, how would it be presented? I'm sure it's like different for every company, but just paint the picture teensy bit,
Sure.
please.
It would be changes in that risk. Has that risk grown? Has it decreased? Have we eliminated some risk based on the timing of the project? Just a current status update of our overall risk.
Okay, so like a snapshot saying, hey, we have 212 risks on our risk register. We got these new ones that came on. We got these old ones that we satisfied and they're no longer a problem. Here's how much money we spent potentially with like all the contingency and management reserves. Like here's the next couple risks that we're keeping our eyes out on. Here's what we learned with the risk responses that we've put out there. Just kind of a summary of the overall risk landscape, if you will. Does that, you agree with that, Eric?
Yes. Yep.
Sweet. All right. So Tay, that's kind of what it is. Like, sure, the individual details for what's happening with that risk will be on the register. And then all those things are going to be like summarized and put on the report monthly or whenever, every 2 weeks, monthly, quarterly, whatever. Depends on however you do it. But it's going to be a summary of there. You can hand it to couple pages, whatever, to someone and say, here's what's going on this month. Does that make sense? Maybe.
Yes. Yep.
Jete, you agree or disagree? Confused? Anything? Oh no. I know you're there. I think you're there.
Yeah, Bob.
So. All right, cool. Jete, if you're
Scott,
still there.
I'm sorry,
Please.
Scott, can I ask a question? Where where are we in this process? Are we in identify risks at this point?
So the way to think through risk is like risk identification and evaluation happens continuously through the entire project, right? We're always going to keep our eyes out for, potential cracks in the road out there, And so right now we are in, I guess we've identified risk in the past recently. Like it says, we have 3 new risks. Sweet. So we got 3 new risks. So that was identified. Then in the funnel sense, we went down and made notes of them, put them on the risk register. We probably made decisions. Right now, we are in monitoring and controlling, monitoring risks, where we're looking out there to say, like, how's it going? What did we learn? What are new ones are there? So that information goes from like the factual data / information that's on the register. We process it a little bit more thinking wise, and we get it into like information and stuff that goes up to like creating a report. So we're like doing monitoring, controlling kind of thinking. That's like the way I think about monitoring, controlling is like I'm evaluating our progress, plan versus actual, and I'm summarizing it down so that I can make assertions off of it. So I think we're doing some like reflection type things and getting ready to present out. Monitoring, controlling type thinking.
So because we've already made that list and identify risk, because we've already gone through that, and now we've gotten 3 more.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's in the monitoring and controlling, because somehow as we've been executing, then 3 additional ones came up.
So the way to think through risk is this is going to happen continuously. It's like, yeah. But right now what we're doing is we're pulling together the status of what's going on. And we're saying from last month, we have 3 new ones. Great. Here's the status of the stuff that here's where we were last month. Here's where we are this month, et cetera, et cetera. Pull it all together in a nice little picture or, report, send it off to the people that care, present it out. So that's kind of like how we do monitoring, controlling stuff, is we're trying to analyze and get ready to shoot, get people informed.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Jate has dropped off. No big deal.
I'm here. I'm here.
Hey, what's up? She's back.
Hey.
She's always been here. Whatever. All right.
No, I dropped off. Now I'm here.
What are you thinking about? All right. So do you like A any more or less since we've talked a teensy bit about it?
I like it. It says what should the project manager refer to, which sources. And
Yes.
so the person already knows that these are 3 new risks. So
Sure.
the risk register is where we it says refer to, not to add, not to whatever, but to refer to. So I'm kind of leaning toward A, but not, because it's referring to something that could help us with new risk. So
I'm with you 100%. The last I want to clean up and ask about this. We can refer to in order to, or to ... in order to do what? What are we trying to do here?
Sure. I know that we're trying to see what kind of impact. It says these risks could impact critical key milestones. So we need to find out, will these risks impact critical key milestones? So to what degree will they? So we need something to reference to help us understand how they could, what's reference before, how they could impact. So I know the project manager needs to reference some sort of additional information before presenting this new risk information.
Okay.
So I know that, but yeah, go ahead.
No. I was saying, okay. I was saying, okay.
The next one says risk register or OPAs. So I don't think OPAs with things within, because OPAs is basically how do you run, how does the company prefer you to run something, or how do you onboard a new person or new things. An OPA would not help us with this, with risk.
It could be anything that we own and can modify internally. So it could be processes, procedures, documents, stuff like that. Yeah. So cool. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that wouldn't help us here because we want something more specific. My assumption would be, or what?
We do, yeah, because I don't think this addresses the risk really, because it's so broad, the OPA. So
Okay.
in regards to this, okay.
All right. See.
So C, risk management plan, I like that, and risk report. I like that too, because I was going back and forth, but the risk report, as you just went over, and I think Eric just went over with you, risk report is not just individual risk, but where we are in the project with the risk and managing those risks that have come up, and like the reports on those risks. So
Sure.
I don't like C, but
And the plan does what?
Risk management plan tells you who would own this, like this risk, and if there were, but it's things that you already kind of thought could happen when you were doing the planning stage. And so these are 3 new risks. But it tells you, like, if a risk pops up, a specific risk that we've already named, here's who owns it, here's what we do, blah, blah, blah. But these are 3 new risks.
This is how we're going to approach it. Okay, cool. All right. So you like C or don't, or you kind of like it? I like it a lot or don't like it at all?
I kind of don't like it because when I think of risk management plan, it's a plan for foreseeable risk. But I like it, but I don't, because when I think risk management plan, I think of things that have been planned for. This is not planned for yet. So,
okay. So in addition to add a wrinkle onto like your thought process is like the risk management plan also says, this is how we're going to deal with risks. Here's how, like if a new person came on and said like, well, what do we do when they have risks? And you're like, we got a plan for that. Like, first of all, when we identify them, this is where we put them. Here's the process by which we're going to evaluate them. Here's the time, all that stuff, et cetera, et cetera. Like, so cool.
So I kind of like C, because if it's saying like there's a risk, there might be risks that we don't know yet. What's it called? Contingency plan. Or like, I know there's 2 different types, contingency plan and something else. But the other one's not. Management reserve and management reserve written into the plan, but contingency plan is written into the budget. So I like C. So D is lessons learned repository and risk report. I'm not a fan of the lessons learned repository for this. When I think of lessons learned repository, I always think about the end of something, and I don't even mean the end of a project, maybe the end of a phase or end of dealing with a risk, or it's kind of similar to the risk report, but lessons learned is for like overarching of the different things that and circumstances that we learn from, or even just like personnel, things like that, or anyways, go ahead. But I think I'm leaning toward C.
Leaning toward C. All right.
If I may,
but maybe D, C or D. So
cool. Hang on for 1 second, Natasha.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, C or D, C or D. All right, Eric, what are you thinking, man? And then with Natasha. Yep.
I am thinking C.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got there by basically eliminating the OPAs and the lessons learned. So that got me to C and A.
Okay.
And then it was kind of a game of batting back and forth between the register and the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of one thing that was discussed, and when you went back to kind of what are we trying to do? We're trying to update our weekly, monthly, whatever our status report is.
Yeah, monthly report. Yeah.
The risk report's obviously going to tell us where we're our current risk status, and the risk management plan should tell us again where we have reserve, or what an action plan may or may not be. So those 2 things would help me articulate in the current report, not only just that we have new risks, but maybe those other 2 pieces of information. Here's our current risk level, whether it be high or low, and here's some possible solution to what we might have coming. So
I'm with A. I'm sorry, I'm with Eric. I didn't mean
Eric's
to say
on
A.
C.
Eric
No,
sounds
I'm
sick.
with Eric. It came out as A when I was trying to say Eric.
Come on, Eric. Yeah.
I'm
all right.
with Eric on this.
All right. I think Eric's with you too. Natasha?
No, I agree that it's C. One of the things that the risk management plan includes is that it estimates the impacts of foresee risk. So that for me was knowing the definition of the risk management plan and that it does estimate the impact of, and so it would foresee impact on schedule if there was one with a foresee risk.
Okay. And so where are the new risks stored?
On the risk report.
Okay. All right. Maybe.
Sorry, they're on the risk register.
Okay, cool. All right. And so to create the new report this month, and they mentioned those three thingies, we got to figure out where we're going to get the information to update it. Like, hey, I have this thing and I got to make it into the new report, stuff like that. All right. So we got a bunch of people on.
So A would be better because it says, I interrupted you, I'm sorry. Because
It's
it
okay,
says
Doug, that's the goal.
what would the PM reference, wants to reference additional information, where would the PM, what should he or she refer to for these new things? So like, sorry, the project manager wants to reference additional information before presenting this new risk information. It's like I'm between A and C, but from what you just said, when talking to Natasha, I am leaning more toward A, the risk register, if it's for reference, and risk report, like reference of the risks that have been there. But I like C because it's like, okay, so how do we manage this? But what the PM is doing is reference additional before presenting this new risk information, right? I don't know. I'm like, you're referencing something, past things, you're presenting something, and you're not saying like, here's our plan. It's the word I see is like you're presenting something, okay, and you need to register these risks, but you also need to have like a plan for that, but maybe I don't know.
Okay. Just pick A or C. You move toward A. You want to stick with that one or you want to stick with C? 3, 2, 1. What are you gonna do?
A, but I was like, can we say that I was
All
thinking
right. That's it. That's all I need. Yay. Yeah. So I mean, this is good because we went through all the artifacts or whatever you want to call them of risk, talking about what they are, what they're used for, and so what they're saying here is last month we created a report. It's, updated, per last month. This month we got to create a new report. What are we going to look at to get the new information? So probably not a bad idea to just look at what we looked at last month. Like, what did we say? That's pretty cool. And then probably there's some things that we need to update from it to say, oh, status of XYZ that we talked about last time. Here's the updates on that stuff. And then here's the new things that we brought to the table, 3 additional new risks. These are big ones. They could impact key milestones. And this is what we're doing about them. This is, what we laid out. And so those are the 2 kind of resources that we can pull the good information from to get ready for the new report. So not bad. I like how you guys went through.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am?
have another question. So, okay. So I noticed in the answer, it says that to double check basically that this is indeed a new risk. So even though the question says identifies 3 new risks, we don't take their word for that or are we just doing like the due diligence double checking? Okay, let me double check on the risk register and risk report. By the way, thank you for saving me from myself when I was like teeter-tottering between A and C. And said
All
A.
I'm doing is asking questions, my friend. We're good. So, I mean, I don't love the description that they wrote there, just honest. The project manager must check the risk register and the risk report to see if there is indeed a new risk and to see if there was action already planned around it. So a couple things to go there. I just like to think about a lot of times in these questions, it feels very like, your world is wrapped around like the information here as a project manager, but in reality, you got 1,000 bees spinning around your head all the time. So it's like, oh yeah, we had 3 risks, right? Like, okay, what's going on? Like, what's the status of those? Like, you're checking on people, you're like doing all these things. So you're going there and you're saying, all right, I'm creating this report. Let me time box myself a little bit, give it like 30 minutes to build this thing. All right, what do we got? Like, let's review, like, what's the status on these? Can we get an update here? What are the new ones? Who's doing the things? And like on that register, we're going to have a lot of the details right there. So that's what they're going to look at. And then obviously the past report is like, let's just update the new version. We're not creating it from greenfield every week or month or whatever. So yeah. And I think the checking, like they're a little loose in their language. If this is indeed a new risk, like let's just check the status and what the deal is and the dates and all that on there. So does that help you out, Jite?
It does. Thank you.
Okie doke.